This is Sofia Kakava. Welcome to my very first YouTube episode of Mindset Talks. In this series, we're going to be talking all about mindset. I will be inviting amazing guest speakers that they're experts in their field with the sole purpose of helping you master your mindset, become an expert in transforming your life and achieve success, whatever this means to you. I'm Sofia. I'm a psychologist, I'm a coach, I'm a speaker, and I've been working for the past few years in the tech industry, designing, implementing, and delivering leadership initiatives. And what I found important is that no matter what you do, if you would like to thrive in business, if you would like to excel, you should be working on yourself. You should be mastering your mindset. So for today's call, I have the honor to have with me Akgush, who is an expert in the D&I field, diversity and inclusion. Akgush.
Thank you so much for having me. I'll do a little intro on myself. So, name's Akgush. I am currently the global D&I lead, and my history and my career didn't just start out in D&I. It actually started out in technology. And we did tech implementations, and then because of my diverse background, I got pulled into culture work and how D&I would impact different cultures. And these cultures could be anything from where you're from all the way to how does engineering adopt different types of new initiatives. And then from there, I started my own company, which is called Heartwork. It's an incredible company, which I'm no longer a part of, but the company focused on bringing spirituality into workspace. And what we did is, my focus was talent and development, and what we focused on was helping individuals grow and thrive through discovering who they are. Really bringing the focus back into yourself, understanding that it is you that's experiencing the universe. And then we also did stuff around bringing change into the company space. I left that company. It was a hard decision to make, but one that was definitely a soul decision. I just knew I had to go. And I entered a space that I'm in right now, and I got to understand D&I through the lens of a company that is so global and how that impacts different people from different places in that sense. So that's basically what my career background is. And my personal background is one of a lot of change.
We are curious, aren't we? Tell us all about it. Where are you from?
I'm from Turkmenistan. Turkmenistan, a country not very well known, but it's part of the former Soviet. It used to be part of the former Soviet region, and so I'm from Turkmenistan and Georgia. But I grew up in Dubai, and I lived in Dubai for quite some time until I moved to the UK, where I finished my school, where I started my university, and I also started my career there. And now I'm an adult living in the Netherlands with my husband.
You never know where life takes you.
Yeah.
You never know.
You never know where life takes you. And you also never know how each aspect and each change and each swirl in your life really impacts who you become. So yeah, I'll stop there.
Well, let me ask that out of personal curiosity, because I'm a digital nomad and I have to know these details. And I know that many of the people that they're going to watch, they love traveling. Tell us 3 facts about Turkmenistan, something we potentially don't know.
Has the 4th largest gas reserves in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe we shouldn't say that. I don't know.
Yeah, wow, indeed. The main capital is mainly buildings of marble. It is white marble building capital. Basically, If you walk into that city, it's just so beautiful. You have these white marbles in every single building. I think that country broke the world record in terms of marbles that they built the city with. And another fact about Turkmenistan. Oh, in the middle of the desert, we have this burning pit of oil or gas. It's just there. The Russians set it on fire, and it's been burning since.
Wow. So much energy created in Turkmenistan.
Yeah, it is. And that hole that's burning is called the door to hell. Fun fact. Check it out. It's really inspiringly beautiful.
I would definitely add it on my bucket list. I would definitely do. Beautiful. So from Turkmenistan, and what's a next destination that you would like to travel to? Since we're talking travel.
Travel or move?
Ooh, whatever you like. Manifest in this call. Manifest.
Well, what I'm manifesting right now is moving to the US. That's definitely where I imagine the future of my family and the future with my husband and having my children. But my next place that I'm going to travel to, funnily enough, is also the US. But another place that is very near to my heart already, and I've never been there yet, is Zanzibar. A very good friend of mine lives there now, and I really want to go.
Wow, Zanzibar. I am personally in love with Zanzibar. In fact, I was traveling there last December. I did my diving certification, and in June 2023, I'm joining Soul Search retreats, and I will be hosting live coaching workshops with the sole purpose of helping soul searchers be more present, explore their body and mind alignment, learn about biohacking, NLP, building habits. So I'm back to Zanzibar. I will be posting links also to get to know Akgush better, and some other resources that you may be finding useful in the description box below. So don't forget to check. And of course, like, subscribe, share. And your comments mean a ton to us. So Zanzibar.
Yeah.
Definitely go do it.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
I love it.
Yeah.
You're going to fall in love.
Yeah, I'm 100% sure that I will. I mean, I was telling you this before. I mean, you're going there for this retreat, which I think is phenomenal. And the reason that I'm going there is also to start setting up a retreat space that won't be live just yet. We're hoping to make it live maybe sometime next year, but we're really excited. So
I would love to share the grounds there and do amazing things.
Yeah. I think we'll definitely be partners in this space.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I've noted down for today, I've asked my community in my social media, and I've gathered some questions that I've been getting a lot about diversity, about being more inclusive, and also understanding how does this work in business. So I would love to maybe cherry pick some of the questions and ask you. But first of all, I wanted to get your personal definition of what is D&I? What is diversity and inclusion?
D&I for me is the notion, specifically in the workplace, is the notion of finding a way to heal communities and societies as they work.
Wow, that's powerful. Finding a way to heal communities and societies in their work.
Yeah. The notion of healing at work. Yeah.
And because I've also been in the tech industry and the business industry, this may be far from what's happening.
It is. It is really far from what's happening. I mean, think about the people that succeed in the workspace.
Mm-hmm.
People that succeed in the workspace are individuals who have so much pain and so much trauma that's already captured inside of them that makes them want to thrive. Okay, those are the people the two extremes, the ones that succeed and the ones that don't. Both carry with themselves a lot of trauma. And ultimately, no matter where they end up, none of them end up happy. And then you, of course, have the middle space, which is either individuals who are happy with where they are, or they just don't know how to break through. They just don't know how to break through. They don't know what that, what that gold is, the gold that helps them break through. Whatever it is, all of us, in some way or another, are struggling with our traumas that are constantly writing our future. I don't know if you know the book, The Body Keeps the Score.
The Body Keeps the Score? No
Yeah.
down? Yeah.
I can't remember the author. He's a Dutch man who moved to the US. It's an incredible book, which basically captured everything that it references a lot of scientific research papers. And what they find is that everything that an individual experiences as a child becomes a pattern in their adult life.
Which is reality.
It's reality.
It's reality. Like from 0 to 6, we have the imprint phase. So whatever happens, it's stored somewhere.
Yeah.
And you may have no memories, but it's still there. It's going to manifest somehow.
Yeah. Because what happens basically is you experience trauma and your nervous system isn't developed enough to understand it, to comprehend it, to explain it back to you. And that trauma imprints itself and gets stuck in your body. And then you project that trauma into every other element of your life. So imagine if you are somebody who comes from a community that's a minority group that doesn't experience the more finer things in life, that is constantly going through constant periods of trauma in their family, in their school, in what they see their adults becoming. The kind of imprint that makes into their minds and into their bodies and into their nervous systems isn't one that's going to help them succeed and thrive. It's one that's going to make them angry. It's one that's going to throw them into victimized spaces. It's one that's going to keep them looking at the world with a lot of misunderstandings of how they can thrive. And the best way to implement D&I within organizations is to understand how you can address this in a way that genuinely helps individuals heal. And not do it in a way where it actually aggravates the situation even more.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It sounds like deep work in an organizational context.
Yeah. And oftentimes, people are not ready for that. You know, when you try and say, okay, let's do this kind of work here, we can start this with identity work, where we kind of map out the subconscious of how we build out our own versions of who we are, how our ego basically creates our identity. Let's go into the subconscious and start implementing these different workshops. People oftentimes say, no. How do you know when a psychologist needs to step in and do that instead of you? And what they don't understand is that oftentimes you can do this, you can give the individuals the tool to find the way of their stuckness in their mind and come out of it without necessarily going and doing deep dive psychology.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It sounds like it's all about creating that awareness and becoming mindful of the pattern in order to break it. Yeah. Otherwise, if you do not address it, it just sits there and you're never going to do anything with it.
They become our greatest saboteurs.
Yeah.
Greatest saboteurs. And they become our identity. Because the ego wants to stay in what it knows. The minute it is attacked and it's told, you know what, break out into what's possible here, the ego says, you don't know that, pull back. You don't know that. Why are you going there? That's not safe. And I think we need to start learning as a society that it is safe for me to discover something new. It is safe for me to learn something about myself that is difficult. It is safe for me to make more money, for me to grow, for me to find my authenticity.
Beautiful. I wish actually I had a buzzer like Brad Lee does in his podcast, like fire. Can we please add an artificial boom here? And yeah, it is, and it should be safe. Otherwise, you should be questioning, am I in the right organization?
Yeah.
If my values are challenged and I don't feel safe enough to grow and explore new things.
And I mean, the workspace is not a safe space. It's not. It's like this little micro space that we're looking at that is reflecting the macro situation that we're in. So right now, the macro situation, specifically speaking from the D&I lens, is extremely polarized. That comes out into the micro lens, and then we're expected to be constantly performing, constantly delivering, constantly producing, and then our worth is established out of that. So if you are somebody who's struggling with imposter syndrome, how does that impact your ability to grow out of it? It doesn't. It keeps you constantly thinking, oh my God, I need to produce to be able to be seen as worthy. Oh my God, I need to be doing something incredible to be judged as somebody who's worthy of my position. And then you're constantly just fighting yourself in a process where you're supposed to be actually using to heal. This is an incredible laboratory that can help us heal. And we're not doing it. We're aggravating it.
Yeah. And how has D&I played any role in your life as Akgush, if any?
I mean, I'm a woman. I come from a country that's not very well known, Asian. I'm Central Asian, living in the West. And having to actually learn about what it means to be Western while also holding an Asian mind. I mean, D&I has really come into my life in many ways where I see its importance. I see how important it is to help integrate people into new worlds and new spaces. Having said that, I also think that sometimes D&I is misused. And I think we need to be doing D&I in a way where we genuinely look towards how to bring society together, not set society apart.
Exactly. The risk I've personally seen, because I work with numerous organizations and I speak with many professionals, is that people do not really understand what D&I is about. And it seems like this one extra thing that you have to do in order to comply. It's like, oh, if I have 5 applications from that minority in my recruitment process, I'm good. While it's far from that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tool, something that can support your people to actually thrive, rather than, oh yes, we just need to do X and Z and pretend things are great.
Check boxes,
yeah.
Let's just check boxes and pretend like we are actually driving change when we're not, because we're not seeing that change truly actually escalate throughout the organization. We don't.
Yes, exactly. No, and this is one of the reasons actually, we would hang out anyways, but I said, oh, we have to do this on camera as well, because I remember when we first connected at work, and I've heard your approach of D&I, because my background has been in HR. I was never the D&I person. I was always involved in the process or like being there for the team. But I felt that I have been missing that message that you bring about how can actually D&I be combined with self-awareness.
It needs to be. D&I without self-awareness is going to flop, which is what we're seeing happen right now.
Mm-hmm.
We need to bring self-awareness into the D&I space, because we're only going to start breaking these patterns that we are experiencing on a wider scale once we become self-aware. Goes back to the whole notion of the universe is you inverse.
Universe is you inverse. Buzzer. I love it. And what about all these terms? Because we want to learn a little bit more. And you hear a lot at work, but then do we really own the definition? I hear a lot about unconscious bias. What is it? How do you identify it? And how do I know if I do it at work?
Okay, so unconscious bias is when we do something that is putting a bias towards a group of people, but we're completely unaware of the fact that we're doing it. Do you feel like you understand what it is now, or do you want me to dive deeper?
Let's give me some examples.
Let's say when you are in a room and you're talking to a group of leaders, and let's say the CEO is a woman, but you don't actually know that the CEO is a woman, and you look more towards a man that you assume is the CEO, and you're not even aware of the fact that you're doing it. That's unconscious bias.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have personal examples.
Yeah?
That. Yeah.
Share
yeah.
some.
Actually, it's funny. I traveled to Sweden for one of my consulting clients. I love this company. It's always nice to work in Sweden or with Swedish companies, because you see how things operate differently and you have a different level of equality in the workplace, at school. It's just a different way of thinking, which I appreciate so much. So we did some work with my clients, and we went out for drinks. So we were in a very nice restaurant. They're fun. And so it was myself and 4 men, mid-50s, 50s.
Mm-hmm.
So I was there in that nice place with them. We had finished our consulting meetings for the day. It was a restructuring process. So they were undergoing through a leadership change, and they needed my support to, make things better. Because look at chaos. Make it smooth. So girls from tables around, they would approach me only to order, because they assumed I'm the waitress there.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it was quite interesting to observe how we do that on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's unconscious bias.
Yeah.
And how you can start recognizing it? Well, becoming very conscious of what you do. And there are loads of workshops that you can implement to start teaching people on how to do that. We won't dive into that today. But what I do want, like the leave message to be in terms of unconscious bias, is that the unconscious bias that we currently explore in the D&I space only comes from the perspective of the aggressor. Oh, the aggressor can only be unconsciously biased, when that is actually not true. The victim or the minority groups can also have unconscious biases. A very good example is the example of how when women interview and then they get a job and they're asked, what do you want your salary to be? They go for a lower salary than what men go for the exact same job. That is a woman who's a minority in the workspace deciding for herself what her worth is, which is below a man's worth. We're not going to break this. We're not going to break this unconscious bias that happens in our minds if we don't take a little bit of ownership for the fact that sometimes some of the inequalities that we experience in the space is not just external to us, it's also internal. And to become more equal, we can't just externalize that experience. Yes, we absolutely must do certain things in the external space. It's very important, which is why when you do D&I, you have to set the basis of what that is first, the external basis. But then you have to take ownership of what are the things that you are putting into action.
Yes, you mentioned a really important word, ownership, because often at cases, especially if you been through trauma, you were discriminated or went through a lot, it's only easier and comes naturally to blame and complain. So by pointing fingers, you're not going to improve your situation. Yeah, it sucks sometimes and it's difficult and challenging and not nice, but unless you own what's happening and focus on you outgrowing the situation and pulling others up with you rather than pointing fingers and...
You are never going to change anything in this world by pointing fingers at other people, because people don't want to change when they're being accused. They don't. This is what we're seeing in the D&I space. You're only going to change by becoming an inspiration. That's it. That's the only way you're going to change anything in this world, by becoming an inspiration.
Wow. What inspires you?
Oh, so much. Eudaimonia inspires me.
Oh, I love it because it's a great word.
It does. The notion that we can become a much more divine version of ourselves freaking inspires me. I mean, if I can swear.
You can do whatever you like as long as it's D&I proof, you know? As long as I'm compliant with this show, there's nothing else I care, right? Checkbox.
Yeah, checkbox. Becoming the best version of yourself is what inspires me. And believing in myself and taking what I want to do seriously is what inspires me. Because for the longest time in my life, I did not take myself seriously. That little voice in my head of, oh, Akgush, how would you know? You know, how would you know all these little years that you've lived? Or what makes you think that you are right? Or how would you know that you know better than this other person who's an expert or whatever, right? This constant voice of like just diminishing everything that I believed in. I mean, I actually lived most of my life severely depressed just because I went through a very traumatic set of experiences in my childhood. And I lived severely depressed. I did not know how I was going to get out. And I constantly pointed fingers at the surroundings that I had experienced that had made me into that depressed person as the fault. When in reality, the fault was my thought patterns. And I mean, every day, what you think today is 94% of what you thought yesterday. And what you're going to think tomorrow is going to be 94% of what you thought today. So you're not changing if you're constantly reusing the same thoughts over and over again. And when I was depressed, I was constantly reusing the thoughts of depression over and over and over and over again, spiraling basically downwards. And then when you take ownership of the fact that you can be this divine version of yourself, you can actually find true inspiration from within. That fucking inspires me.
Beautiful. And thank you for sharing. I really appreciate that, because I appreciate that you're here and you're authentic. And I know that people are out there are experiencing the same. We all have these moments, these experiences, and it's important to know that it's okay. We all have these thoughts. What do you do with them?
Yeah.
And what has helped you deal with these voices and overcome, rise up?
I've always been spiritual, but I was always spiritual in the sense of I know spirituality, but I don't do spirituality,
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, I would love to explore that in a brand new episode with you, because this is a topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, shall we do that?
Yeah,
Shall we do another one on spirituality?
Yeah, let's do that.
Beautiful. Anything else that comes in your mind in regards to D&I and creating awareness? Any message that you would like to send to everyone out there that is watching?
This is going to be a cliche, but I think the message that I want to give to everyone in the D&I space would be, if you want to see the change, you need to first become the change. And you need to inspire, like a pyramid. Everybody inspires towards, like eudaimonia. Like you become this inspiration and everything comes and settles under what inspiration you create. Be the change.
Be the change. Beautiful. Be the change. Thank you so much, Akgush. Thank you so much for watching our first episode of Mindset Talks. Every Monday, we will be launching a coffee break, a 15-minute break that you're having with me, and we're talking about different topics around traveling, love, psychology, problems, challenges, solutions, all of that. And every Thursday, a brand new episode of Mindset Talks. Thank you. This was Sophia, and I will see you in the next video.
Wow, beautiful.